You've made me think about it because I've sort of gone back and forth on this, and sometimes for me workout's quite therapeutic.
Sure.
And it's just like I just want to turn off and I move and think, and it's just an escape from everything that's going on. But sometimes I think you're right. Like there's definitely, when I've had trainers, they get me to do things I would never think of myself in a lot of cases. And although I do feel if I want, I push myself. I suppose when you look at it completely, they'll probably push me in so many different areas I wouldn't do myself. And as a result then, like what would you say do you get so in terms of results, what are you getting from that? Is it just, what do you get from it then?
I mean, the main result's performance.
Right.
So yeah, I'm stronger than I've not ever been. I mean, when I was 20 years ago when I was playing rugby in university, I would have been a bit stronger than now, but I would have also been a good 5-6 kilos heavier. But certainly versus the last 15 years, I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm able to do movements that I wasn't able to do then, particularly things that involve mobility, and I'm much more resilient to injury. So, for example, I loved snowboarding, but I'd always pay for it when I came back with a groin injury that would then niggle me for months afterwards, or if I surfed, my internal rotators would hurt for days afterwards, that kind of thing. Whereas now that's really not the case. It's touch wood. it's almost that I've been given a program that's enabled me to do those things without suffering the consequence from it. So it's mostly around performance, I'd say. I mean, I'm relatively happy with my, let's call it body composition, that give or take kind of where I want it to be. But it's the performance side of things, certainly.
I think, one of the things about the fitness industry is obviously if you're at your level and having a personal trainer, it's great. But I also think people like my parents and that type of area where when they go to a gym, most people don't have a clue what to do.
No.
Like, again, I put you in the category. You're probably in the top category, even though you probably couldn't be a personal trainer, as you say. You're probably more knowledgeable than 95% or maybe even 99% of the population that are thinking about working out. And I sort of think, well, what do they do? And it's almost like maybe that's why the sort of fitness space isn't getting as many people in, because most people's experience, they go to a gym, they have a bit of an assessment, get given a program, and then that's it. They're kind of in there every week, and there's almost like no hope for them, really. Is it? Would you agree?
Yeah, look, I'm with you. I was talking to one of our fitness managers just yesterday, and he's one of our newer fitness managers, and I was, kind of discussing almost philosophy around what sort of team he's trying to create. And my take on it is that the best gym in the world is a gym where all of the members in that gym are getting the results that they came into it for. And as you know, that's rare. It's most members in most facilities aren't getting results for a whole range of reasons. That they're not coming in often enough. When they are coming in, they're not doing the right exercises in the right combination at the right tempo with the right rest. Even if they are, they're probably doing that, let's call it a program, for too long, and then they're plateauing. So what I was, I guess, kind of talking to him about was almost the only way to ensure that all of the members are getting results is at some stage they have a personal trainer. So I 100% believe that a good personal trainer can train someone for 3 months, 6 months, and teach them how to train effectively for the rest of their life. And I guess that's one of the reasons that I'm still heavily involved in that particular part of the fitness industry, personal training, and of course, obviously the gyms and studios that takes place in, because the environment has a big impact on whether the member's inspired or not to commit. But I passionately believe that everyone should have a personal trainer at some point in their life. I kind of believe that. 100% with my heart.
How do you do that as a business then? Because I guess, and I don't know the numbers, but from what I've been told, it typically goes from sort of on a super high end 20% and down to sort of 10%. It's definitely not 50% of people.
No.
How do you then try and get more people into that when really it's the best way for them to work out and get results. And I totally agree with that. And I totally get why the opposite means that people are not going to stick and not going to get any results. But you know, it's people don't all use a personal trainer, do they? You know.
No, I think the stats there, and it's certainly in the UK, anywhere between 3% and, you know, best case scenario, maybe 25% of members doing PT, and we're nearer the higher end of that, as you can imagine, because of where we are and who we are, and we're proud of the personal training business we've built. So the answer to your question is, how do you get more members? That's not an easy answer. If it was, everybody would be doing it. The number one thing is people. So you know, certainly we believe in putting our personal trainers and actually our Group X team as well at the center of what we do, so everyone's employed. Whereas I've worked in businesses before where those experts are freelancers and they feel like they're on the outskirts. So by putting them at the center of who we are and, if you like, uplifting them and making them feel important, you get a virtuous cycle of then you attract better and better PTs and Group X instructors. So it's mostly about having the best people who can inspire members and who can attract clients towards them. But you also have to have environments that, if you like, inspire the members to want to train with a personal trainer as well. So
what's now expected from a personal trainer in terms of how they round out their education? You know, is it, I suppose once you get your PT course, where would some of your trainers expect to be developing themselves? What areas? Obviously, you mentioned their sort of personal communication skills is an important thing, which I would agree. But what else makes a great trainer in your eyes?
Yeah, there's a few elements to that, Matt. I think there's obviously if we look at the different almost fitness components. So to be a successful personal trainer, certainly in London, you need a really solid foundation in strength and conditioning, functional anatomy and biomechanics. And most of that doesn't come from doing whatever it would be, a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week PT course. You know, there's some extra learning needed, whether that's a degree, whether that's a master's, whether that's going and doing Mike Boyle strength and conditioning, whether it's going to do Michael Gould and RTS. So there's an element of, we're expecting the PTs that join us to have invested in their own education around those sort of almost core fitness components. The next bit is you've touched on is communication. That links to the PT's ability to coach. So let's imagine I was your PT client. Part of what I need from you is tell me what exercises to do and tell me what order to do them in and what tempo and what rest and all of those things. But probably what I also need is for you to help me change my behaviors. You know, there's this element of, you need to coach me to stop doing some things, to start doing some things. There's almost like an NLP element to that. And I think the modern personal trainer needs to be a coach, which the difference for me between a coach and a trainer is a trainer tells the client what to do. And of course, there are moments when that's absolutely necessary, whereas a coach asks the client what they think they should be doing and involves them in the process. And for the most part, most of our members want to be involved in the process. They're educated people. They're nearly always fairly successful in other areas of their life. So for the most part, they're not going to come in and just be told what to do and follow it blindly. So that ability for the PT to coach, to change behaviors, we're seeing a big sort of, what's the word, focus now on mental health, resilience. How do you as a personal trainer help me run my life? What's my sleep like? What's my nutrition like? So to some extent, PT's acting as a hub and arming the client with the information they need to run their life. So it's not enough just to come in, deliver an hour's worth of exercise and I'll see you next week. So I think all of that ties into what a great personal trainer looks like, whether that's for Third Space or for anyone. And I still think the industry, in terms of developing personal trainers that can do all that, you know, the industry's a long way away from it.
Do you see things changing as well? We've had a conversation about recovery, and that very much seems as though it's still very new, even how do you sort of build recovery into spaces. I've been to a number of clubs and people are trying to do different things and boutiques that are doing it. But when I sort of ask them, well, how have they put stuff together and what's the education like? It's a lot of people are just still figuring it out themselves. You know, it's not like a place to go, or there's not many places to go that will tell you exactly what to do. And then I guess from a trainer's perspective, they've got to figure out, okay, well, when do I recommend, or how do I sort of interpret what else that you're doing in your life? So it sounds like it's, you know, there's a whole new level of education that has got to be sort of put together. So how are you, or how in your experience, some of the trainers looking at things that you got from your Whoop and you know, the recovery procedures that they're going through to figure out how to sort of bring that back together again?
Yeah, you're right. Of course, it feels like it's almost a new facet that just people weren't talking about HRV and, you know, whether it's hyperice or Theragun even 5 years ago, maybe, right? So this whole focus on meditation, mental health, breath work, yeah. Absolutely, ice baths, that's relatively new, and of course our members are aware of it, and they'll have information they've got from who knows where, from social, from YouTube, from an Amazon documentary, from Netflix. So they come to us asking about things. So our PTs have to be informed on it, because if the member's more informed than the PT, you know, you've got some issues. So we from a physical area, we have recovery rooms in some of our clubs now. We partner with Hyperice who do our you know, the Hypervolt and the recovery devices. That's in every club, and that's part of the service. And certainly our personal trainers, when they're training their clients or when they're onboarding members, will knit those things together as part of the program. So whether that's before or after, and they'll, if you like, they'll plot those into the members program so the member understands what, why and what. Whether the member then adheres to that, that's a little bit hit and miss. It's easier if it's a regular PT client, because the PT can, to some extent, continue to coach and influence and change behaviors and ask the question like, how are your shoulders feeling today, Rob? Yeah, they're sore. Oh, have you used your gun this week? No. Oh, right. Don't forget, you said you were going to, didn't you? Yes, I did. Okay. So there's a little bit of that. But for the member to fit these extra things into the day is challenging. It's just, you know, sometimes the member just wants to sit in the sofa and watch Netflix and not foam roll and mobilize their shoulders to make sure they can perform well the next day.